Welcome, welcome, welcome all to episode 7 of Everfree Radio. This week, Crescendo, Socksy, and I review The Secret of My Excess. Then Autumn and I interview Maddy Peters, the voice of Scootaloo. She is not a chicken. I'm Final Draft, and if you're ready for some EFR action, let's get started. Okay, well, I'm Final Draft.
And I am Socksy.
And I'm Crescendo.
And today we are reviewing episode 10 of season 2, The Secret of My Excess. I really enjoyed this episode because it was the first episode that was really primarily focused on Spike, and we got to see a lot more of his characterization and a lot more of his excesses, and so I kind of enjoyed it. It was fun to see.
And I rather enjoyed seeing Twilight again in a lot more than just, say, 3-4 minutes of an episode.
Yeah, well, this isn't necessarily the first Spike-centric episode. We had the episode last season, which was All's Well That Ends Well, which was very Spike-centric as well.
Well, I guess maybe what I should say then to clarify is that this is the first time that, Spike has a real huge impact on everyone else around him. I think that All's Well That Ends Well was kind of more of a very basic character study. In this episode, we get to see him basically rampage through town and destroy half of it.
Destroy half of Ponyville, grow up, and we get to see why he grew up and how he grew up.
Of course, the fanfic authors and the fan artists are going to have a field day with some of the material in this episode, that's for sure.
Oh, yes. And with the whole thing with Spike and Rarity at the end, they'll have a field day with that in particular.
Yes, the thing, yes.
The thing where she pretty much knows that Spike had a crush on her when he was going to admit it, when he thought that they would fall to their deaths.
Yes, well, the fandom will definitely have a field day with it, I think, in the end. Well, getting back to the beginning of the episode, I immediately, even before the first commercial break, noticed a really cool reference that they did, which was when Twilight was reshelving her books and they're kind of dancing through the air. I had a sneaking suspicion it was a reference to Fantasia, but then William Anderson's play on the Sorcerer's Apprentice theme kind of confirmed it for me. It was really cool to see that.
In all honesty, I didn't realize it was a Fantasia reference, but that's just because I've not seen that film since I was a young girl.
Shame, shame, shame.
It did remind me of something. I couldn't place it at the time, but then you mentioned it, and it clicked into my brain that it was Fantasia.
Well, luckily for Twilight, none of the books, became alive. None of the books started paling water anywhere. But yeah, I mean, it was really cool to hear it and see it. It was a fairly straightforward reference.
Speaking of Twilight's books, I noticed there was one called Art of the To-Do List, and all I can think of now is a Twilight version of Rarity's song.
I don't know. I don't want to think about that. It'll get stuck in my head.
One has to wonder how important to-do lists are to an average pony's life if they have to have a book about it. An entire book about how to work to-do lists.
I don't know if any author was listed, but I suspect it was actually one that Twilight probably had written.
And had to reread herself.
After she marked it off the checklist, of course. Well, and so moving on in the episode, Spike has his birthday party. He receives a lot of gifts, apparently an apple blanket, which he enjoyed very much. But then he goes out into the rest of the town, and he, of course, goes to the cakes in Sugar Cube Corner and gets a sapphire cupcake, I suppose that's what it was.
Cupcake made completely out of sapphires. Just a gem cupcake. I'm wondering why they would even have that as a recipe if he's the only dragon in Ponyville. I don't think ponies eat gems.
Well, they did state it was a new recipe, so maybe they were just trying it out for a special customer's birthday.
Well, it would be a new recipe, but it came off to me as them just having the recipe beforehand, but thinking it would be a perfect opportunity to test it out on Spike.
Well, to be fair, it's not like it's very hard to just throw a few sapphires into a cupcake.
They were crushed sapphires. I guess they would have crushing abilities somewhere. A mortar and pestle or something.
Of course, Crescendo, you must be speaking from experience, having tried to put sapphires into a cupcake before, right?
They do have that little bit of rocky flavor.
Well, and so Spike goes out from Sugar Cube Corner, and he runs into one of my favorite characters, voiced by Nicole Oliver, cheerily.
And he flings her vegetables everywhere, out of a vegetable bag.
Vegetables everywhere.
All over the place.
I do love the animation of Charlie when she's all dizzy and her eyes are spinning round in her head.
It looks like a lot of teachers I've known.
Yeah, I rather liked her animation, especially when she put her hoof to her cheek. I liked what they did with her facial expressions there.
Well, and here's my question. What was she doing with the fedora among all of those vegetables? Who goes shopping for vegetables and then a fedora?
Why wouldn't she have a fedora on her bag?
Maybe there was a fedora sale.
I don't have an answer for you, Software. I just don't.
Shirley gives Spike the hat as his birthday present. He looks very suave in that hat, I have to say.
Did he remind you of anybody?
Reminded me of kind of like Michael Jackson.
He kind of reminded me of Michael Jackson as well in that seminal video for Smooth Criminal. I've always wanted a fedora like that. I've had to settle for a Panama hat or two, but like Spike, I've had difficulty getting the hats to fit properly.
I don't tend to wear hats, unfortunately, so I cannot relate. Okay, going back a little ways, I find it interesting what Rarity did to Spike to get him to give her that fire ruby. She gave him the most, seductive look she could possibly give, and I'm just finding that interesting, how she would play him like that for that ruby.
She does seem to try and use her wiles on people. I mean, or I should say on ponies. If you see towards the beginning of the Grand Galloping Gala episode, she basically gives that same look to those ponies, including the Cyclops pony, to get them to carry the girls to the gala. But yeah, when I saw that, I kind of thought this seems to me almost abusive on her part, because Spike's supposedly just a baby. I mean, he's 2 years old, and he's got this gem he's been aging and perfecting for his own consumption, and she sees it and wants it, and so what does she do? She bats her eyes at him to get it from him. I don't know.
Rarity is very much of the mind frame that if she wants it, she's going to at least try to get it.
But she's supposed to be the element of generosity.
Well, you can be generous and still take things, I suppose.
Well, she definitely took the fire ruby. In the end, obviously it moved the story forward, but I kind of thought that it was a little bit odd that she was going to be that pushy with Spike like that. Well, it's kind of interesting then, too, that Rarity really goes after that gem, and what happens in the episode is that Spike has a reversal. He starts off being very, very generous by giving away this prize gem and becoming the grabby dragon. I thought some of the items that he hoarded were kind of interesting. I know the fandom is going to react to that globe that was in the library, the globe that showed all the continents of Equestria.
That globe just confirms that there are more places in the world than Equestria. I mean, the world might be called Equestria. It might be. I'm not sure, but there are more continents than just Equestria.
Well, and that Equestria is actually a sphere, which, of course, in terms of astronomy, begs a lot of questions about Celestia and Luna's roles, but, that's for another podcast.
I do have to say that in that scene when Spike eventually takes the globe off Twilight, I don't think Twilight was feeling very on top of the world at that point.
Oh, that's terrible.
Why would you do that to our listeners?
Well, and there were some other items in there. I think there was a framed picture. I think there was a gramophone or something like that. He just creates this entire pile of just junk.
Random junk that he found, around town or was given for his birthday.
Spike became a hoarder. And if you've ever seen that TV show, his hoard definitely looked like that.
You do have to wonder, though, that how much of Spike's greed is of his own admission, or whether it is completely his natural dragon reflexes.
Well, in terms of dragon reflexes, we only got to see, I guess, when the doctor, who some have started to affectionately call Dr. Muffin Top, I think, because of his hairstyle. When the doctor, I believe, taps his knee, he barks flame at him. So there's one natural reaction. But yeah.
You have to think that's kind of a normal reaction when the doctor is being completely and utterly patronizing.
Well, he's a pediatrician. He's a doctor for babies, because he's a baby dragon.
True enough.
And going back to the whole hoarding thing, it's come to my attention that greed is what actually makes Spike grow. I'm not sure if they only grow through greed or if they also grow through age, though.
Well, I was really happy to see who informed us of dragon growth cycles and dragon growth catalysts. And that was Zecora, voiced by Brenda Critchlow, and it was fun to see her again. She's starting to serve that role. She's starting to appear in the episodes as the sage, knowing zebra. I'm happy to see her.
She's like the second teacher to Twilight by this point. The one that she goes to if she needs answers and she can't find them anywhere else. And she doesn't want to go to Celeste.
Well, Zecora is generally the person you'd go to for the things that are, like, not ordinary, if you get what I mean.
The things that happen around Ponyville all the time.
Yeah, that poor town has just been ruined now, however many ways.
Several different times it's been destroyed or just eaten or something.
You know, Spike basically destroyed Ponyville in this episode. He busts out of the library. He destroys Sugar Cube Corner, much to Pinkie Pie's dismay. He takes apart that poor water tower. I like that shot at the end of the episode when he's finally devolved back into being just Spike. He's sitting on the bridge, he's looking over the town, and it just looks like a ruin, just a post-apocalyptic version of Ponyville.
Just utterly destroyed. They even sent in their Air Force, the Wonderbolts, who apparently double as their Air Force in Equestria.
Only in My Little Pony Friendship is Magic do you get a scene that combines all the best elements of Godzilla and King Kong. You know, he's rampaging through the town. They have the air siren horn go off, this 50s blare, this 50s blaring siren, and he takes it, he destroys it. Then you have, of course, just like in King Kong, the Wonderbolts coming in like the airplanes, you know, chasing him down. And yeah, I got a kick out of it. As soon as he picked up Rarity with his tail, I knew that it was going to be a King Kong reference, but they did a good job of not making it too blatant or too much of a steal.
I also think that there might have been a very, very minor Hulk reference with how Spike was speaking with the Cutie Mark Crusaders, like, Spike want.
Though he didn't at any point go, Spike, smash!
But he did smash a lot of things.
Indeed.
Something that I want to bring up is something that I really liked in this episode, something that I just cracked up when I saw. Applejack's leaf mustache. It made me laugh so hard. And her reaction afterwards, after Spike ran past with all of her leaves and her apples, just that look on her face and the tone of her voice when she asked Twilight to get her rope.
I actually enjoyed when Rainbow Dash arrived to Twilight and Applejack tied up. It was so very typical of her to laugh at them, but then it's quite possibly just because she was unaware of the seriousness of the situation.
No, I get the feeling she would have laughed either way. And that was probably one of my favorite moments of the episode, where she's falling back laughing at them as they're tied up.
But you can see how quickly she shifts into a more serious tone once they hear Fluttershy scream.
That's because it's Fluttershy. If you hear Fluttershy in peril, you must, get serious.
Though I gotta say, if I heard Fluttershy scream, I would almost consider it a matter of course. I mean, she's afraid of everything.
Yes, but scream that loudly.
Well, I suppose.
So loud that you can hear them. You can hear it from the Everfree Forest, or just outside the Everfree Forest, all the way to Applejack's farm.
Well, I did get a kick out of what she said she had been doing before Spike rampaged through, which was, I believe, teaching the squirrels some new dance moves.
Also, an amusing fact is that nobody realizes that the large purple and green dragon, the only dragon that lives in Ponyville, is Spike.
Well, I think that, it's such a difference. He was, by that point, 4 or 5 times his regular size. His voice wasn't the same. I mean, even his facial structure had changed. I don't know that... I mean, it's a kid's show. I think the idea is that they recognize Spike for his character, not his appearance.
And Rarity touches on that with the whole heartwarming moment when she was telling him about the fire ruby that he gave her.
Yeah, and you had that nice flashback where he realizes what he's done.
And then he turns back into a baby dragon and they start falling.
I have to talk about my favorite scene of the episode. It was when Pinkie Pie is defending Sugar Cube Corner from Spike, who's trying to steal everything. in a lot of ways, I feel that scene took the cake.
Oh my god. That's horrible.
Why do you do this to our listeners, you two? Why? Why do you hate them?
Because me and Giraffe is horrible with puns.
I should just assault you with cake.
I like Twilight's interaction. You know, why are you giving Spike your cakes? I'm not giving him cakes. I'm assaulting him with cakes.
Well, this is now the second time we've seen baked goods used as projectiles. Because if you think back to Over the Barrel, they used the pies to defend the town of Appaloosa from the buffalo.
You gotta imagine that a cake baked by Pinkie Pie has got to be a dangerous thing one way or another. I mean, just the sheer sugar content alone.
It could be worse. It could be worse. It could be a baked bad from Applejack.
At least hers are deliciously dangerous.
Yes, indeed. Well, one element about this episode that worked really well was that we got to see, again, some more background characters, and we got to hear their names. I thought it was cool. We got to meet the characters of Junebug, of Lickety-Split, the doctor, and also the veterinarian in town. And it was actually kind of fun. In the doctor's office, you actually see up on the wall a chart of a pony's inside. So apparently they are not entirely marshmallows, though perhaps, you know, those structures in there are just condensed areas of marshmallow.
They could still be dark matter.
Oh no, they are dark matter. The scientists and academics have agreed on this. It's just known.
Most definitely dark matter.
I do enjoy the fact that in the vets, Spike was acting very much like a dog.
Yeah. Well, and he takes the doggy treat and just adds it to his hoard. He doesn't even eat it.
I rather like the veterinarian's voice artist. The voice, it made me happy.
I did think it was kind of cool that Junebug was voiced by Kathleen Westluck, who is the voice of Spike. So it was kind of neat to hear that.
So essentially she was talking to herself.
Yes. Well, and overall, she did a really good job in this episode, you know, just conveying Spike's emotions. It's hard to do that, I should imagine, for a girl portraying a boy.
Also, I'd like to bring up my favorite scene of this episode. The scene where Rainbow Dash and Fluttershy fly up to Spike after he's become a huge dragon and try to, like, convince him to stop rampaging, where Rainbow Dash is being completely and utterly forceful as per her usual self, and Fluttershy is actually asking him to back down, which is just so adorable and Fluttershy-like.
Well, I'm surprised she didn't, you know, draw on her experiences from Dragonshy and just give him the stare. You know, just give him that look and how dare you and all that.
Speaking of Dragonshy, we now know why the dragon in that episode was so big, and that was because of his huge hoard of treasures.
Well, and, you know, in that episode too, Rarity was trying to relieve him of some of those treasures.
It does beg the question as to why Fluttershy couldn't, like, channel the stare, considering Rarity was in danger there.
We don't worry about such things. We can't worry about such things.
I do think Rarity has rather mixed priorities with how she's fine with the dragon, you know, attacking Ponyville, attacking her friends, but how dare they ruin her cape?
It was a crime against fashion.
It was a crime against fabulosity.
Well, and those capes now are perfect fodder for fan art and fan plushies and all of that. So get working, fans.
Yes. I request Twilight Sparkle's wizard cape. Make it happen.
I have to say that Fluttershy's cape is the cutest, I think.
Well, clearly you weren't looking at Twilight's then, and that's understandable.
Clearly you weren't looking at Twilight's.
I'm surprised I didn't say Rainbow Dash's was the most awesome.
You would still be wrong. And something I'd also like to bring up is Awkward Teen Spike. It reminded me a lot of Awkward Teen Fluttershy. Just how his arms and legs looked. It all seemed off to me.
Well, and his arms have this stretching ability, it seems, to just grab things from everywhere.
He seems to have the same ability with his tongue as well.
Yeah, we got to see more of the prehensile tongue and a little bit of the prehensile tail this episode. So, yeah, Spike is definitely a dragon of many hidden talents.
And now he has a fedora.
Well, he had a fedora, but it wouldn't fit. He had to tear it off, unfortunately. Well, so overall, how do you guys feel about this episode? What were your general impressions, and what is your rating out of 5 destroyed buildings in Ponyville?
Well, I'd definitely say it was a good episode. It had a very staple story. The references were really nice. I especially liked the Fantasia one after it had been pointed out to me. And especially the background music in that scene. The characterization of Spike in this episode is very well written as well, in my opinion. So I'd have to give this 4.5 destroyed buildings out of Ponyville.
Half of a destroyed building?
Of course.
And Sakura, what did you think?
I liked the story. I liked the episode, but it wasn't 5-star material for me. I didn't like it as much as other episodes. I don't know exactly why, it just did not click with me. But I did like Rarity's expressions in this one. They were very cute and adorable, especially all of her pouty faces. And I did rather like the Wonderbolt's appearance, that we got to see them again. And overall, I'd have to give it a 4 out of 5 destroyed buildings.
Over the course of this episode, I found that I was enjoying it more and more as it progressed. I have learned not to assume that My Little Pony episodes are going to follow a standard format. This episode didn't follow an absolutely standard format, but it was fairly predictable. We all knew that Spike was going to return to his normal size by remembering the ruby. I felt like a lot of it was somewhat predictable, but that being said, I have to give it a solid 4 ruined buildings out of 5, because like you said, Software, it didn't click for me the way that some other episodes have. I did really enjoy Pinkie Pie's role in the episode, and I really did enjoy, that the Wonderbolts were there, that we got to see Spike's growth spurts, that we got to see more background ponies. It was a solid episode, but it wasn't one that I would point to and say, this is a favorite of the season, like Lesson Zero or like Return of Harmony. For me, it was just a step below that. And since it's hard to justify a half-ruined building, I give it a 4 out of 5 ruined buildings. All right, well, I'm Final Draft.
I'm Crescendo.
And I'm Socksy.
And stay tuned for our interview of Maddy Peters. Mere moments from now, is our exclusive interview with Maddy Peters. First up, though, is Archie-V's popular remix of Becoming Popular.
The toast of the town, the girl on the go, and the type of pony every pony should know. I'll be the one to watch the girl in the flow, and the type of pony every pony should know. hang on every word that I speak. My approving glance is what they all seek. I'm the creme de la creme, not just another Jane Doe. I'm the type of pony every pony should know. At home at the opera on a fancy yacht, becoming the talk of all of Canterlot. I'm the creme de la creme, not just another Jane Doe. Yeah, I'm the type of pony every pony should
And we're back. I'm Final Draft, and I'm here with
AutumnSpice.
And today we've got a really special guest, a very important guest and a very honored guest, Maddy Peters, voice of Scootaloo. Welcome.
Hey, everyone.
And I just wanted to start with a quick, starting question, which is, how did you find out about My Little Pony, or how did you get into recording for it?
Well, I just got an email from my agent asking if I wanted to audition, and I said, sure, this sounds like an amazing opportunity.
Your previous role before My Little Pony was in the show Martha Speaks on PBS, and there are a lot of pony actors who are on that show as well. Was that part of the reason why you think you were contacted by them?
Could be, yeah. I know Michelle's on Martha Speaks, and so is Tabitha, and this is great to work with them again.
Michelle told us that there's a very interesting dynamic going on between the voice actors. What is it like recording in the studio? Do you guys all record together?
Yeah, we all record in the same room, and it is a very interesting dynamic. We're all good friends, and make jokes, and if you mess something up, we can just redo it, so that's what's great about voice acting.
Well, we mentioned Michelle, and I know that Tabitha was involved in Martha Speaks as well. Was there a difference that you noticed when you got into My Little Pony between how you record for My Little Pony and how you recorded for Martha Speaks?
Well, in terms of the voice that I do, Martha Speaks for everyone is a lot more natural and realistic, and My Little Pony, you can go a lot more cartoony because it's a more cartoony show.
When you say cartoony, do you feel that you kind of then exaggerate the character a lot more, or?
Yeah, you can really make it a character.
Well, so okay, when you're doing Scootaloo's voice, then what are the sorts of things that you exaggerate to really bring out that character?
Well, I add a little bit of a roughness to my voice and edge because she's such a tomboy, and I like to say everything like it's super awesome, the most awesome thing in the world, and I just get really pumped about stuff.
Well, that definitely comes through and how the final episode comes out. But I was also going to say, it kind of sounds like Rainbow Dash's characterization. And of course, Scootaloo is a big fan of Rainbow Dash. Do you try to somewhat mimic Rainbow Dash's voice style when you're doing that?
Well, it's really funny because I had never heard Rainbow Dash's voice when I auditioned for Scootaloo, and I've kept my voice the same as when I auditioned, and it just so happened that they were pretty similar, so it's quite a coincidence.
Did you audition for any other ponies as well then when you went in?
Yeah, I auditioned for the 6 main ponies, and they went with all adults for that, and then I auditioned for all 3 Crusaders.
When you first were auditioning for the 3 Crusaders, did they give you some sense of what they were looking for in the character?
Well, there's a character description on the sides, but other than that, they didn't really give us much indication. They let us be creative with our voices.
So when you went in then to audition for the role, you kind of just came up with the rough, everything's awesome voice then?
Yes, because I read in the sides that she was a tomboy, and when I think of a tomboy, I think of kind of a pumped and edgy kind of voice, and that's just what came through.
So when you auditioned, you auditioned for not only the main 6, but all 3 Crusaders. Were you expecting to get the role of Scootaloo, or was there any specific pony role that you thought you might get?
Well, I was actually not expecting Scootaloo at all, because before My Little Pony, I hadn't really done many other voices than my natural voice. So Sweetie Belle was just a little bit younger than my voice, and Apple Bloom was just a southern accent for me. But Scootaloo was kind of the most challenging, and it was the most different for me. So it was kind of a surprise when I got it, and it was a great surprise.
Do you have to drink a lot of water when you're performing Scootaloo? I mean, with that roughness in the voice?
Yes, definitely. I'm always drinking water and tea. When we were recording the Crusaders song, the one where I sing like a horrible screeching maniac, my voice was gone for quite a while after that, like the entire day.
So when you're picking a tea to have, when you do the Scootaloo voice, is there a favorite tea you've got?
No, I like all tea. Green tea's pretty good.
You were mentioning that you recording the Cutie Mark Crusaders song, and there was a lot of fun singing involved in that, to be sure. Is there going to be any point in time, do you think, where we're going to hear Scootaloo's real singing voice?
Yeah, I just recorded a song, actually, and I'm not going to go into too much detail, but it was lots of fun.
When you were recording the Cutie Mark Crusader theme from last season, we've heard rumors, and we talked about this with Michelle as well, that there was a good version of the song, and then they came back and said, you need to sing it poorly. Is that true?
Yes, well, they told me that I wasn't a good singer, and I tried it, like, just a little bit bad, not absolutely horrible, and then they said, no, they want it just so bad that it hurts your ears, and so I gave it my all to sing my absolute worst.
Was that fun to record then? And if so, were you recording that with the other singers as well at the time?
Well, it was lots of fun, but I didn't actually record it with the others, that particular song. I'm not exactly sure why, but I went to a different studio for that one. Just a small studio, kind of in someone's house. And it was so much fun to record, though, because I just hammed it up, and I've watched a lot of, 80s music videos, and I just channeled that.
So you weren't necessarily wearing the face paint, though, during the recording session, were you?
Well, that would have made things interesting, but no.
You said you watched 80s videos to reference that. That's really cool. Are there other techniques that you use to get in character before a recording session?
Well, I just like to really get into the mindset of the character. I just pretend that I am Scootaloo, and everything that I think is through her eyes. Everything I see is through her eyes, and it's lots of fun because she's pretty different from what I'm like in real life.
There's a lot of differences between you and Scootaloo, you just mentioned. Are there any similarities that you see?
Well, yeah, there are a few similarities. She's really adventurous, and I think I'm pretty adventurous, too. I love adrenaline rushes, and I'd like to go ziplining and stuff, so.
We also hear that you do a bit of dancing outside of your recording career.
I did competitive dance for 1 year, and I'm really busy, so I don't do it anymore, but I still dance quite a bit, and I just had a rehearsal today.
Is it, say, jazz dancing, tap dancing? What kind of dancing are we talking about?
I take a lot of different kinds. I take, ballet, contemporary, jazz, lyrical jazz, and hip-hop, and I help teach little kids ballet.
Oh, wow, that's got to be fun to work with kids like that.
Yeah, so much fun.
Are you looking forward into your career? Do you have a goal that you're reaching for? Or are you looking to be more into acting, more into dancing, maybe a combination? Have you thought about it?
I've thought about it a bit. I love voice acting. Like, it's just so much fun, and I'd love to continue with that. And I'm also really into any kind of art, so I want to have some sort of career in the arts.
What kinds of medias do you enjoy using?
Well, all my life I've been drawing, and I love to draw, and I love to use kind of multimedia and oil pastels and paint, everything. And recently I've been getting into a lot of photography.
Oh, I absolutely love pastels. I know how that is. It just flows onto the paper.
Yeah, I love that.
Do you have a certain subject area you like to photograph?
I'm not very experienced at it yet, but I love to photograph people. It's my favorite thing, just making people look so interesting and beautiful.
Well, looking into how you've got all these different hobbies and all these different interests, how do you fit the recording sessions and the dancing and all that? How do you fit that into your schedule? I assume you're still going to classes as well.
Yes, I have a really busy schedule. I play volleyball also, and so I don't have a lot of time to do my homework and to get enough sleep, but I do manage to fit everything in.
Well, that's got to be definitely a bit stressful. Do you have any ways that you try to relax or try to, process that stress?
Well, I love music, and I love to listen to music, so sometimes I'll just lie on the floor, play my favorite song. That's my favorite way to relax.
Do you have any particular artists or genres of music that you really like?
Well, I love indie music, and it's actually funny that you mentioned that because Ashley Ball, her band Hey Ocean is one of my absolute favorite bands, and I just love to listen to it. I love the sound and the eclecticness of it, and yeah.
I love her work. It's really wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a favorite song by them?
My favorite right now would probably be Big Blue Wave, the new one that just came out. So catchy and energetic. I do want to share something that's pretty funny about My Little Pony. It's that, you know how Scootaloo really looks up to Rainbow Dash? I look up to Ashley in exactly the same way, like how she's in a band and she's in My Little Pony and everything. She's kind of my Rainbow Dash.
Do you pick up her apple cores?
Nope, don't go that far.
So do you then, when you're recording the segments where she's talking about Rainbow Dash, do you try to bring in some of that energy into your characterization?
Yeah, I do.
It's almost like a mini Dash.
Well, okay, so going back into, how you fit these into your schedule, when we were talking to Michelle a couple weeks ago, she mentioned that the way she does school is through an alternative tutoring process. Do you actually go to a school, or do you have a similar sort of alternative program?
I go to a school, and that program sounds so amazing, and part of me wishes I was doing that, actually, but it's a great school. The teachers are very understanding of when I need to leave. I miss a lot of school.
Do you ever use the voice when you're at the school? I just have to ask. Do you ever, say, that's awesome, or anything in the Scootaloo voice just for fun?
My friends are always trying to get me to do the voice, and sometimes I'm in the mood and I'll do it. Yeah, and sometimes a little bit of Scootaloo comes out in my real voice. I'll do a little Scootaloo laugh, and they'll all point it out. We'll have a laugh.
Do you ever use that voice with your family at all? Do you ever try to play off the character to get sympathy, say?
Well, I've never tried that before, but that's actually quite a good idea.
Oh my, we're giving her ideas.
Uh-oh.
And my sister's a huge fan of the show. She's 10. She just loves all the episodes.
Oh, wow. Does she beg you a lot then to try and recreate the scenes at all, or?
Well, never to recreate the scenes, but she likes it when I do the voice a lot.
So, do you actually enjoy the show as well? I do know that some people who voice on a show don't actually follow it.
Well, I don't watch every episode, I don't follow it, but I've seen a lot of the episodes, and the ones that I've seen were just fantastic. The animation is amazing. The eyes are just so cute and animated, and I love the new style of My Little Pony, compared to the old one, because it's so much more modern and spunky.
Do you like how they drew or how they conceptualized Scootaloo's character, or is there an element of the character you would change if you were an animator?
No, I love it. It just suits her so perfectly. The spikiness of her mane, it just accentuates her tomboyishness, and her bright colors are just perfect for her energetic demeanor.
I have to ask, because the fans would chew us out if we didn't. Do you ever go cruising around on a scooter? And if so, do you go off jumps?
Well, I used to go cruising around on a scooter when I was a lot younger, but not so much anymore.
Well, looking forward, to episodes coming up maybe this season, we've had an episode that focused on Sweetie We had an episode that focused on Apple Bloom. Did you get a chance to record any episodes about Scootaloo, or do we get to see more of her characterization coming up? Do you know?
Yeah, I recently recorded an episode that that featured a lot of me, and it was kind of a little bit out of character in some parts. And again, I'm not going to go into too much detail, no spoilers, but be ready for something a little bit surprising.
Have they asked you guys, or I should say, have they asked you whether you could do any other characters' voices? Have you tried expanding your vocal acting within the show?
I can't remember. I've done a few incidentals, just extra voices that they need, like a random character that happens just once in an episode. And I'm pretty sure I've done a couple of those on My Little Pony. I know I've done a few on Martha Speaks, too. And yeah, sometimes, like one time I had to do a really old lady, and it can be kind of interesting. I think I laughed like a baby one time.
Do you have any favorite scenes that you recorded? Any fond memories of a specific scene?
I'd have to think about that. Well, I did like the whole episode with the cockatrice, and I love the ongoing joke about Scootaloo being a chicken.
Oh, you are a fan of that?
Yes. Yeah, it makes me laugh.
As interviewers, we were a little nervous to ask about that because we didn't know whether you would take it personally as a representative of Scootaloo.
Well, I like to have a laugh at myself, and I'm sure Scootaloo does too.
So you are aware of the ongoing chicken joke with Scootaloo. Do you have a specific pony website that you visit or anything, or did the joke just kind of get around and you heard it?
Well, I don't have any real pony websites that I visit, but I know some bronies through mutual friends, never really met them, but they send me some links to really funny things that have to do with Scootaloo, like some funny animated moments where she jumps on her scooter or something to music. And yeah, it gets pretty interesting.
So is there a specific piece of fan work that you've seen, like any of those videos that you like in particular, like more than others, ones that you would like to mention?
I can't really remember any specific ones. The only one I can really think of right now is one where Scootaloo's on a scooter and she goes up on a jump and there's some kind of energetic music playing. I thought it was pretty funny.
Is there anything that you'd like to see from the fandom? Anything that you have been hoping somebody produces?
Oh, I'd have to think about that.
Because I'll warn you, if you make a request, it will happen.
Okay. What about something of Scootaloo surfing, maybe? That would be kind of interesting.
So overall then, what's been your reaction to the whole brony community? Did it kind of take you by surprise? Have you been swamped with emails or anything like that? I mean, what's your reaction to this whole online phenomenon?
Well, thank goodness. I keep pretty private on the internet, so no one really has my email address, but I was so surprised that it just got to be so big, and it's amazing. Like I'm so happy that it's not just for little kids anymore. It can be like the humor applies to everybody, and I just love that about the show. Like the writers are brilliant.
So your friends at school have recognized you for your voice work in My Little Pony. Has anybody else just recognized you off the street or just when you're traveling around?
No one has recognized me off the street before, but a funny incident happened in socials class the other day. I was explaining to my socials teacher why I had missed the last class, and a couple of my classmates overheard me, and they started getting really excited because they were bronies, and yeah, it was pretty interesting. They got me to do the voice and stuff, so it was funny.
Do people ever recognize you for Martha Speaks as well? I mean, I know you voiced Helen for that. You're still voicing her, aren't you? We finished recording episodes for now. If there's going to be another season, which I'm not sure about, then I'll start up again. But no one's really recognized me for that other than what I've told a few kids that I babysit about Martha Speaks. And yeah, they thought it was pretty cool. But it's not as widespread. It's more just a kid's show than My Little Pony, which is appealing to everybody. So you babysit as well?
I babysit occasionally. I don't do it too often, but yeah.
Sounds like you got an insanely busy schedule. Do you have any other roles coming up that you'd like to share with the audience?
I've done a few auditions, and I'm hoping that I can get something, and yeah.
If you were given the opportunity, would you ever want to try acting on screen?
Yeah, I'd really like to try that because before I was just really busy and I didn't have a lot of time, and I still don't, but I'd really like to get into the whole on-screen thing because Michelle has told me about it, and it seems so interesting and so different, like how you have to use your face, but a lot different than the theater too because it's a lot closer up and more natural. So it seems like an entirely new animal, but lots of fun.
So are you and Michelle good friends?
Yeah, we're really good friends. Sometimes I pick her up for My Little Pony, like we drive there together, and it's really great to have, like, to just be friends with the actors because sometimes you have to wait a while, sometimes there are breaks, and it's just great to have people to talk to.
There's always a dynamic when you're recording, but what's the dynamic like in the studio off of the microphone?
Well, like I said before, we like to crack jokes. Voice actors in general are just really funny. We're always doing voices and being silly, and we have a lot of fun, really. Like, there's never a dull moment.
Any fun moments that stood out?
Not really. Oh, except for last episode we were recording, and since it's getting close to Christmas, this was on December 1st, we were singing Christmas carols one word at a time. You know when you go around and the first person sings like, jing, and the next person goes, go. Did that for a while.
Have you ever considered recording something like that?
Well, that would be interesting, yeah.
So overall, then, you would say that for now, you're just really focusing on the My Little Pony in school, then?
Yeah, mostly. But I'm hoping something else comes up because I love voice acting.
That kind of enthusiasm's always the best.
You know, there's an episode coming up, Hearthwarming's Eve, and I was wondering whether you could say if there's any kind of holiday-type music involved with that episode. Or is that another one of those things you can't mention?
Well, I'm not really sure. I don't particularly remember that episode. As far as I know, there aren't really any holiday things going on. Haven't recorded any special holiday episodes.
Well, I've got to say, as an interviewer, I was really excited when I found out that you wanted to do a Christmas carol for the fandom in Scootaloo's voice. Which song are you going to sing?
I'm going to sing Jingle Bells.
All right, well, without further ado, here is Maddy Peters as Scootaloo singing Jingle Bells.
Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Hey, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Hey!
You can't hear it on this end, but there was a lot of applauding happening.
I have a huge smile on my face right now.
That's awesome.
I think the entire internet is smiling right now. All right, well, Maddy Peters is the voice of Scootaloo on My Little Pony, and she also voices Helen on the show Martha Speaks. We were really, really happy to have you today. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, everyone.
Before we go, we have a quick announcement from Maddy about her work with World Vision.
Well, World Vision is a charity that helps out with the famine in Africa and other world problems. And I'm trying to raise $10,000 for World Vision, and I don't have a deadline, but we're going to be setting up a website soon. It would be great if you guys could help me out.
Well, you heard her. Click the link below for more information and to donate. Let's show that the internet and this fandom can make a difference. Okay, time to bring our episode to a close with a flood of well-deserved thank yous. First, let me thank 8-Track, One Trick, and Socksy for their tireless, upbeat editing. These podcasts would be a slop of coughs and outtakes without the hours upon hours they spend. I want to thank my co-hosts Crescendo, Autumn, and Socksy. Our fearless site editor and purveyor of kittens in bags is Nash. I want to thank MandoPony and Acoustic Brony for the awesome music work they've done for EFR. Both groups worked hard to produce the awesome rendition of Scootaloo's Jingle Bells we've released simultaneously with this podcast. Check it out. I want to thank MandoPony as well for composing and recording our new intro and outro music. So awesome! Last but not at all least, I want to thank Maddy Peters and her parents for joining us for today's podcast. We are all honored and privileged. Thank you so much. Stay tuned next week when we have 4 awesome guests joining us for an epic podcast. It's about to get magical. This is your host, Final Draft, signing off and shipping out. Good night and good luck.